You're watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. Welcome to our news. The headlines. Chishimba Kambwili tired of court appearances. Government to revoke operation licenses for uncompliant bar and nightclub owners. Uncompliant rather. Fairview hotel workers protest demand for management to go. In international news, frustration grows over government's response towards floods in Senegal. And in sports news, Copa Queens duo get down to business at their new club in Spain. For the details, do join me shortly after this break.
Msika is here. We have you all covered with just 150 kwacha. You can advertise every day from 17 hours to 18 hours. For a 30-second ad, get the benefit of selling your products and services on Msika. For more details, call our marketing department on +260 953 995099 +260 962 444 726 or +260 971 177 467. Email us on info@camnettvafrica.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you a filmmaker? Well, you are exactly what we're looking for.
Camnet TV is calling on local filmmakers. For more details,
You can visit our headquarters in Ibex Hill next to Hilltop Hospital.
contact us on
0962 444 726. Camnet TV.
not just another channel.
With the details, my name is Liseli Kanyanga. Government's intention to increase its shareholding in Mopani copper mines has continued to be an important subject of debate. Tuesday morning, the Association of Mine Suppliers and Contractors told Minister of Mines Richard Musukwa that this development, once finalized, will help the local suppliers have more access to the mines than is the case now. Association President Augustine Mubanga says currently foreign nationals have taken center stage in supplying various equipment to the mines, depriving the local contractors. Meanwhile, Mines Minister Richard Musukwa says government will not allow its people to be abused at the expense of foreign nationals. We have more in this report.
Zambia's major foreign exchange earner and the country's mainstay. With the decline in business activities in this sector, most mines are struggling to survive. The latest being Mopani Copper Mines' major shareholder, Glencore, declaring interest and decided to pull out due to the fall in copper prices and the COVID-19 pandemic, among other factors. In this regard, government through ZCCMIH declared interest to buy major shareholding in the company. The matter has been received with various sentiments, both from the experts and the non-experts. Tuesday morning, Association of Mine Suppliers and Contractors sought audience with the Minister in charge of Mines, Richard Musukwa. According to the Association President Augustine Mubanga, government's decision to buy off the shares is a breath of fresh air in the mining sector.
This has just come at a better time, when all of us are expectant to see government, increasing its control. So we are very much in support, and we are confident that if this move is, actualized, there are a lot of benefits that we are going to see in terms of job security, in terms of business development, and in terms of retention of, the monies that are always being expatriated through foreign companies that are given huge contracts. And also, we are hopeful that the Supply Development Program, which is inculcated in the Mines and Minerals Development Act, will be religiously followed by ZCCMIH, because I'm sure their interest will be our interest.
But Mines Minister Richard Musukwa says government is in talks with Glencore and will update the nation at the right time. The minister says government will not allow the mine to close and make its people to suffer.
Basically, what we have said as government is that, number one, we want to see ZCCMIH increase its shareholding. Once ZCCMIH increase increases its shareholding. Then at that platform we will now come to the issue of people participation. And from that platform then everything will now be very clear. But we will not be afraid to have a controlling share that is able to make decisions. Because for a long time ZCCMIH has a shareholding like 10%, 12%, 15%. When it comes to voting on making decisions, you are actually told to keep quiet because your share doesn't constitute any authority.
Government through ZCCMIH seeks to increase its shareholding stake from 10% to a controlling position. The minister is hopeful that the said controlling stake in Mopani copper mines will allow a new approach to mining and guarantee safety of jobs for Zambians. Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Visibly angry Fairview hotel workers protested Tuesday morning demanding for the dissolution of the institution board members. The workers are alleging that management have misused the institution's resources and have for a long time continued delaying in paying salaries. Workers who visited their union offices are also calling on Minister in charge of tourism to arrest the situation. Camnet TV contacted management at Fairview Hotel, but no one was willing to comment on the allegations. We have more in this report.
Lusaka Fairview Hotel employees picketed outside their hotel on Tuesday morning to protest what they consider inadequate management of the institution. The frustrated workers stressed that management has failed to manage the institution as the misuse of resources is beyond. The workers complained how they are fired without any reasons. The protest has reached its boiling point as workers now demand for the dissolve of the institutional board. They have since called on government to come to their aid.
Hotel being under the ministry and being supervised by the board, we feel that the ministry should actually, in fact, we are appealing to the ministry, if it can actually dissolve the board as well as the management. Reason for dissolving the board is very simple. They have been with us for over 2 years now. But when you look at the status of our institution, there is nothing that you can see that the board is doing.
Allegations of sexual harassment by management to students have also been outlined.
This has come because we reported some of the issues that we are facing, some of the challenges that we are facing as an institute to the Minister of Tourism, Mr. Chitotela. So he came and did an impromptu visit on management. They were not expecting it. And when that happened, he found that many things were not in order, many things were not in place. And so he charged to say, you don't know what you're doing, okay? You're mismanaging. So management got very furious because as a union, we are the ones who actually started that interaction with the minister. So they started targeting us. They fired the chairman for the union. They fired me, the secretary for the union. They fired 6 other lecturers, cooked up stories for us so that our voice cannot be heard, so that we keep quiet, and they continue stealing money. This is a management that goes to the extent of abusing students, telling students, if you don't give me sexual favors, you are not going to pass.
Meanwhile, Hotel Catering, Tourism and Allied Workers Union Deputy General Secretary has condemned the inability to manage the institution by management.
It's like management of Fairview, they haven't accepted the coming in of the union. They don't agree to work with the union. They are not happy to work with the union. They feel union are rivals. But these are the workers that have issues. And we feel if they had accepted the union, it would have even accepted, to sit it down and dialogue nicely. But the problem that we are having is that they're so adamant, they're so unprofessional, they're so much intimidative. And now just that, management feels the employees or the workers, they've underrated them. But that's not how it goes. They're supposed to be truthful. So basically, they woke up because they're a vindictive kind of management, because the management that don't respect the rights of the workers. They wake up that night, wrote letters to dismiss 8 employees. Is that how you do things? And we are saying abash to that management. If anything, we are calling for the Minister of Tourism and also in conjunction with the Minister of Labour to dissolve that management and the board because they are corrupt. They are unprofessional.
However, by broadcast time, management refused to comment over the issue. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
Opposition National Democratic Congress Party NDC leader Chishemba Kambwili has complained over his frequent visitations to court. Kambwili, who appears before the court almost every week for various offences, is seemingly tired of the continuous court sessions. He was speaking after appearing in court in a case where he is accused of forgery and giving false information to public officers in relation to the registration of Mwamona Engineering and Technical Services. Meanwhile, Dr. Kambwili has expressed disappointment at what he terms as unfair application of the law. He was commenting on the United Party for National Development Deputy Secretary General's arrest, Patrick Mucheleka, who was charged with aggravated robbery. We have more in this report.
National Democratic Congress leader Chishemba Kambwili says vengeance is for God alone and he will not take it out on anyone who has wronged him. The opposition leader said this shortly after his court appearance when he disclosed that visiting the court premise has now become his daily thing.
I come to court every day. Are you going to continue like this? Political power is not in perpetuity. You are president today, you'll be out of the State House tomorrow. For me, vengeance is for God. I will not take it out on you the way you've treated me, destroyed my businesses, bring me to court. I will only leave you to God to deal with you.
The NDC leader has, however, appealed to the police to release the UPND Deputy Secretary, Patrick Mucheleka, and charge him with the correct offense he committed.
Now, Mucheleka and them were accused of having gone to verify how the national registration was being done. And I don't know the fact they were told. We are told that they went and picked up 1 or 2 printers. To charge them with an offense of aggravated robbery, which has no bail, is regrettable. And this is a pure way of using state apparatus to intimidate the opposition, to intimidate those who do not agree with the government of the day. JJ Ilepa police, pure aggravated robbery at all standards. You go and charge him with a lesser offense and release him on police bond immediately the same day. And he was on the run for over a month. Why are you conducting the national registration like this? Give them bond and charge them with an offense of likely to cause breach of peace or maybe trespassing. That's the offense they committed. Aggravated robbery. God saves them.
Earlier, Kambwili appeared before Lusaka magistrate David Simusamba in a case where he is accused with forgery and giving false information to a public officer in relation to the registration of his company, Mwamona Engineering and Technical Services. In testifying in the case, his son Mwamba Chimba told the court that the forgery allegations against his father must not exist because he gave his father the right to sign on his behalf, as it was an internal agreement between him and his mother. The case has since been adjourned to the 21st of September 2020 for continued defense. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
A state witness has told the Lusaka Magistrate Court that Leadership Movement Secretary General Brown Sinyangwe gave his party cadres offensive weapons to use. Appearing for continued trial before Chief Resident Magistrate Lamek Mwale, Deputy Inspector at Matera Police Station Henry Chalikosa testified that he was informed that the 13 accused persons who were in an unfinished building in Chalala area for unclear circumstances with 51 machetes. This is in a matter where Dr. Silumbe, who is also a surgeon, is jointly charged with his party Secretary General Brown Sinyangwe and 11 others for being in possession of 54 machetes among other offensive weapons. Particulars of the offense are on the 14th of October 2019, whilst acting together with other persons and without lawful accused, possessed 54 machetes, 6 high-power stun guns and 13 short buttons. The matter has since been adjourned to the 25th of November 2020 for continuation of trial. The United Party for National Development UPND leader Hakainde Hichilema says it has no intention nor capacity to interfere in the selection, continued reign or removal of any traditional leader in this country. Mr. Hichilema's remarks comes in the wake of revelations that Chief Chitimukulu's sentiments towards him for allegedly issuing disparaging remarks about the traditional leader. The opposition leader has reiterated his position on this matter by categorically stating that the party has no legal nor moral backing to disrespect traditional leaders. He says the duty of the UPND is to work with all traditional leaders and other stakeholders in fostering economic and social development to benefit all citizens in the whole country, regardless of ethnic, religious, political and other affiliations or artificial boundaries.
In order to clarify matters that are being mentioned with regard to my position on the Chitimukulu, I repeat my earlier press statement as follows. We have no legal, moral, desire, or other intentions to remove any traditional leader in this country. We, as Hakainde Hichilema, as UPND, have no legal or moral desire or other intentions to remove or tamper with the tenure of any traditional leader in our country, Zambia. The United Party for National Development, UPND, outside or inside government, has no intention nor capacity to interfere in the selection, continued reign, nor removal of any traditional leadership in our country. We simply have no legal, moral desire, or other basis to carry out such a mission. In as far as we are concerned, this is an unattainable position, and it's well outside our cherished values, virtues, and aspirations.
The Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, MMD leader Nevas Mumba has advised Lukasha constituents to vote for a God-fearing person who will lead them to greatness. Dr. Mumba, who is in Lukasha to drum up support for their candidate Christopher Kawe, took time to attend a church service in the company of the ruling Patriotic Front members. Dr. Mumba has further called on all political parties to coexist and stop political violence in any election. He adds that people should not be swayed to vote for a candidate because of money or any other related gifts. Mwansawombwe and Lukasha constituents will go to the polls this Friday, 17th September 2020, to replace their deceased members of Parliament.
For us, MMD President Nevas Mumba urged the people of Lukasha constituents to vote for a God-fearing candidate on the polling day of their area's parliamentary by-elections slated for the 17th this month. Dr. Mumba cautioned the people of Lukasha not to be duped by money in making their choice on whom should represent them in Parliament. Speaking shortly after he attended Sunday's church mass at Mary Immaculate Catholic Parish in Sanga compound of Kasama town, a service that was also attended by PF campaign team, Dr. Mumba advised the people of Lukasha, if they voted for a God-fearing candidate, the challenges they are going through will be dealt with sincerely. Dr. Mumba has also called for the coexistence exhibited during the Sunday's church mass to be lubricated in the ongoing campaigns.
Nation under God, when we come under this roof, all of us become subjective to the power that be, which is the power of God. I'm so happy that the unity we have demonstrated here can also be demonstrated on the campaign trail, that there's no need for violence. We are asking people to decide who amongst the candidates would serve the people better. And according to what he has preached, it is important for us tuambye okulatira tuleeta abantu abakakwata akatina kakwaleesa ebo tuleesala pamulondo oti mwasala omuntu shikwete katina kakwaleesa ife balepepesha omuntu afe akakitikana kalyayo ekyo tuleeba bonse n'ama-electorate muno okuti bapose kwamaano mu kusala intungulushi nga tayakwata akatina kakwaleesa nangu imupelesha nindalama ikeesa amufutatila tapa kapite na nshitana kalyayo tule umfwe bale pepesha mu church tusale pali ifwe bene fwe bali mukatika ma church abakweta katina kakwalesa ebo bale tusela ko kulusaka noti atu muntu aisa mufutuira fye ndalama mwafulungana nokufulungana.
We now take a break, but still to come in the news, Zambia records 4 COVID deaths in the last 24 hours. Stay tuned.
Take control of your tax planning. Avoid penalties and interest. Returns and payments due by the 10th of the month for declarations of the previous month's transactions are pay as you earn and skills development levy. Returns and payments due by the 14th of the month are turnover tax, withholding tax, mineral royalty tax, tourism levy, gaming and baiting, presumptive tax. Returns and payments for all withholding VAT agents is the 16th of the month. Returns and payments for all VAT registered suppliers is the 18th of the month. Submit the returns and make payments on or before the respective due dates to avoid penalties on the late submission of returns and payments of taxes. Further, note that VAT tax invoices for all business-to-business and business-to-government transactions must bear the TPIN of the buyer without fail. Zambia Revenue Authority. My tax, your tax, our destiny.
I have used Oracle Pure Glycerin for 2 years now. It has really worked for me. It has cleared all the black spots on my face. It has restored my skin beauty. It also smoothens the skin. Try Oracle Pure Glycerin for perfect skin. If it's not Oracle Glycerin, then it's not Pure Glycerin.
Stay home, stay safe. Times have changed. With the advent of the coronavirus, Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company would like to advise its esteemed customers to avoid visiting crowded places. You don't have to move to pay your water bill. You can do it in the convenience of your home. You can pay your water bills through Zanaco Zapit, Stanbic Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, and FNB. You can also use Airtel, MTN, and Zamtel Kwacha mobile money transfer services. For any inquiries to report a fault, please contact our customer service on +260 211 251 571, +260 975 618 618, and toll-free line 5957, Zamtel only. You can also simply email customerservice@lwsc.com. This public announcement is brought to you by the Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company. Water is life. Sanitation is health.
You're watching Camnet TV World News. Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue. Zambia has recorded 4 deaths in the last 24 hours, 2 facility deaths and 2 brought in dead. Addressing the media Tuesday morning, Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary Dr. Kennedy Malama says government continues to express worry of how people are reluctant to follow COVID-19 guidelines. Meanwhile, the country has recorded 99 new cases out of 747 tests done, which shows a 13.3 positivity increase. We have more in this report.
Government has continued to make strides in the fight against COVID-19, but still cases are being recorded, resulting in the authority to worry about the drop in COVID-19 compliance levels. Health Ministry Permanent Secretary Technical Services Dr. Kennedy Malama Tuesday morning during the COVID-19 update warned of a surge in COVID-19 cases if the country does not change. Dr. Malama said government eased restrictions on socio-economic activities with emphasis that people should continue to adhere to the 5 golden rules of fighting the pandemic.
It's clear that with the easing of restrictions in our socio-economic activities, we've also seen generally a drop in compliance amongst our people. Would like to appeal to all Zambians to take COVID-19 seriously. Yes, we acknowledge the feedback that there are so many other diseases Zambia continue to face. That as a country, we continue mounting a response which is effective to fight COVID-19. And I re-emphasize, this was the guidance of His Excellency the Republican President, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, that the easing of restrictions is premised on the fact that our people will be compliant. If not, and if we see the evolution of the pandemic in Zambia changing to the worst, other measures, including reintroduction of restrictions.
The PS also gave stats on the COVID-19 in the last 24 hours.
The cumulative number of cases in Zambia now stands at 13,819 out of a total of 133,389 tests we've conducted since the pandemic was confirmed in Zambia. And so far, we've recorded a total of 12,590 recoveries, which is 90% recoveries. And we've recorded 324 deaths.
Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Local Government Minister Charles Banda has warned bar and nightclub owners who will not comply with the new normal operation hours of closure if found wanting. Dr. Banda has emphasized the need for bar proprietors to notify the local authority for approval before operations begin. He says the local authority will visit these places to ensure that the laid down laws are followed so that the COVID-19 pandemic does not spread. More in this report.
26th of March 2020, President Edgar Lungu issued a directive to close down bars and nightclubs and casinos aimed at reducing the spread of COVID-19. Since then, many calls were made for the president to rescind his decision. Like a dream come true, last Friday, the head of state allowed the partial opening of bars and nightclubs on weekends from 18 to 23 hours, translating into 3 hours of business, music and dance for the bar patrons. But this relaxation of bars does not come without caution. Local Government Minister Charles Banda says bar owners should ensure that they adhere to the state health guidelines or risk their licenses being revoked.
Mentioned establishments are advised to follow the provisions of Statutory Instrument number 22 of 2020, and that is the Public Health Infected Areas COVID-19 Regulations and the Liquor Licensing Act number 20 of 2011. The procedure below shall be followed to resume partial operations. Number 1, all proprietors will notify the local authorities in writing of intent to resume partial operations and outline measures to put in place to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Remember, I'm saying local authorities. I'm speaking to all local authorities throughout the country and proprietors of such facilities throughout the country.
The restaurants have also not been spared in the warning.
Or business owners whose businesses have been operating normally. Remember, the restaurants were already given a go-ahead. Those who have been operating normally during the COVID-19 outbreak are we are reminding them to strictly follow the applicable public health guidelines. You don't take advantage of the goodwill that government is showing. Would not like to hear now a situation where people want to start operating beyond the stipulated hours which will be given. Then you'll be on the other side of the law. The best is let's move together.
Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Meanwhile, Ndola City Council has cautioned 8 bars and nightclubs for operating beyond the stipulated time in accordance with the presidential directive regarding the coronavirus preventive measures. Ndola City Council Public Relations Manager Rebecca Mushota explains that the warning was issued after the council's Public Health Department conducted a night operation to check compliance on Friday night, September 11th, 2020 from 23:30 hours to Saturday around 02 hours in the morning. Ms. Mushota says the operation was undertaken to check on compliance with the presidential directive that bars, taverns and nightclubs may operate from 18 hours to 23 hours on Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays. The premises found operating beyond the stipulated time were issued with a warning notice, and if found wanting again, legal action will be taken against them.
The Ndola City Council has cautioned 8 bars and nightclubs for operating beyond the stipulated time in accordance with the presidential directives. The warning was issued after the council's Public Health Department conducted a night operation to check compliance on Friday night from 23:30 hours to Saturday around 02 hours. The operation was undertaken to check on compliance with the new presidential directives that bars, taverns, and nightclubs may operate from 18 hours to 23 hours on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. The premises found operating beyond the stipulated time were issued with a warning notice. If the same premises are found operating beyond the stipulated time in the near future, legal action would be taken against them. And in the same week, the Public Health Department cautioned 2 restaurants for non-adherence to COVID-19 preventive measures, such as not observing physical distancing and wearing of masks. In the same period, 3 hosts of festivals were cautioned out of the 26 inspected for non-adherence.
The opening of schools in all grades has been received with mixed feelings, as some parents are still skeptical of their children's safety. Last week, Friday, President Edgar Lungu directed that all schools be opened within the new normal guidelines and that schools should ensure they prepare the pupils for the new grades next year. Camnet TV went round to check on some schools in relation to compliance levels and their readiness to receive all the pupils. One such school is Lady Diana Private School, whose Chief Executive Officer says the school is ready for all pupils to return for class. We have more in this report.
The easing of COVID-19 restrictions has seen the opening of schools, colleges and universities as instructed by the head of state last Friday. While this development has cheered many, others, especially parents, are still skeptical about this directive, worrying for their children's safety, especially that the country is still fighting the COVID-19 pandemic, which was the very reason why schools had closed. We checked some of the schools, both public and private. It was observed that the schools are ready to have all the pupils back in class. Lady Diana Private School in Lusaka has instead made it mandatory for the pupils to each come with a bottle of personal hand sanitizer, while water for hand washing is readily available. School Director Samuel Mwale talked to Camnet TV.
As a school, we are 100% ready, because as I said earlier, that we opened, that's on the 1st of June. And we are used to the rules right now, because we've been inspected by different organizations, by government, non-government organizations. Several people have come here, they have checked our preparedness, and we strongly feel we are ready for the kids. Basically, the president gave a guidance that the school should open from the 14th to 28th. So we opened on the 14th.
Mr. Mwale has assured parents that the school is safe for their children and that they should not hesitate to bring them back to school.
We can assure the parents that the place is safe. and we have tried our level best in human way to ensure that our children are protected. And we have worked with the Minister of Health, the Minister of Education. They have been here, they have inspected our facilities, and they have been happy with what we've done so far. And so far things are going well. Since we opened on the 1st of June for examination classes, we haven't recorded any case. Thank God, the whole country basically, there's no school that has recorded anything, unless not to my knowledge. But so far the schools, I think they're doing pretty well. And the parents should be rest assured that their kids are safe. And one thing that I was just saying, you know, schools are a place where kids follow rules. And kids respect teachers. When the teacher says, don't do this, kids, they tend to follow. So I strongly feel personally, kids are more safe at school than they're at home. At home, you go for work, whilst the children, they remain alone at home. You don't even know what they're doing.
The pupils were visibly happy to be back in school under the new normal. Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Water Development and Sanitation Minister Jonas Chanda says universal access to clean water supply and sanitation services is critical to socio-economic development of the nation. Dr. Chanda says the government has made strides in attaining universal access to clean and safe water supply and adequate sanitation in line with the 7th National Development Plan. He says the achievements of various government interventions are reflected in the 2018 Zambia Demographic and Health Survey report, which shows that 72% of households obtain drinking water from an improved source, representing 7% improvement from 65%. Dr. Chanda was speaking when he launched the National Water Supply and Sanitation Policy, which will provide a framework for a coordinated development in the subsector towards attainment of universal access to clean, safe water and sanitation services in Zambia. We now take a break, but do stay tuned as we have international and sports news. Don't go away.
To create a positive difference in people's lives, one must first understand the way people live. At Savenda, we're here for our community, our partners, and our future, as a nation and as a continent.
Back in 1997, we decided we were going to create this family journey into a bigger opportunity, and created a business called Savenda, which meant Save Nations to Develop Africa.
It's always important to give back to the people. The government cannot do everything, but as business entities, we'll be able to reach a lot of people.
From our humble beginnings in the telecoms and mining sectors to our work in energy and development projects, we know how important it is to be true to our roots.
Our services have to be diversified so that we don't depend on one income stream. Back in the village, I was growing up hunting and doing everything that a village boy would like to do. When you're hunting, you don't depend on one trap, for example. You have to have many traps. So those survival skills brought into the business created opportunities that we learned from a young age that you can't survive with just one product. Savenda Group involves Savenda Management, which is a consulting, Savenda Express, which is a corporate branding company, Savenda Electric, which is a manufacturer of energy-saving bulbs, Savenda General Insurance, which is a general insurance company, Savenda Fresh Produce, Cyber Africa, which is a center for just dealing with cyber security.
Now, Savenda is combining local knowledge with international expertise. It's time to be a part of Zambia's rising success and Africa's exciting future.
We are a gateway into Africa, and now we are praying with global companies who are coming to Zambia for opportunities and to look for companies that are homegrown, and we are proud to be one of those.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with the news. In international news, Senegal is one of the several West African countries to have been battered by heavy rain. The government is now facing criticism for failing to warn people to prepare for the floods. Large parts of the capital are submerged and thousands of people have been displaced. And in a related development, but in Sudan, where the government has asked for any help the international community can provide following widespread flooding across the country. At least 100 people have been killed and hundreds of thousands of homes have been submerged. Al Jazeera has more on these stories.
Displaced and fighting the elements. The rains took away their homes, now it's taking away their shelter. Inside, Fatou Diom salvages what she can.
That's all I have left. We're fleeing the rains. We had to leave our house behind. We are devastated. We have lost what feels like everything.
3 months worth of rainfall in a matter of 24 hours in Dakar, turning Diom's neighborhood into an island sinking in overflowing sewage. With roads turned to rivers, the area has become almost inaccessible. Most have left their homes. Stranded are few families like the Ndiaye braving disease-infested waters to save their belongings from looters.
We can't afford to pay rent anywhere else. Where do you expect us to go? We have no choice but to adapt to the situation.
As early as February, governments in West Africa were warned by the UN that this year's rainy season would bring floods, yet people were not alerted of the storms. Al Jazeera has reached out to the Senegalese government and is awaiting their comment. Meanwhile, the government announced it will release emergency funds to assist those displaced. In 2012, the government allocated more than $1 billion to tackle the problems of floods. But people here are wondering what have they done with that money. So far, they've used it for these tents for those that have been displaced. But with intensifying rains, people here fear that these are temporary solutions to a long-term problem. Whilst the mayor of Kermassar in Senegal says climate change is responsible for the destruction, angry residents blame the state for its lack of planning.
This all feels like a bad dream. The state must come and build a sewage system so that there can be an end to the floods.
With months to go before the end of the rainy season, Diom has no intention of returning home, fearing of what is to come.
This is the impact Sudan's worst flooding in a century has had on farms along the Nile. 3 weeks after the river burst its banks, millions of acres of farmland are still waterlogged. The deluge has left farmers devastated. We met Hamid Abdel Alim in his flooded farmhouse. For generations, his family has been dependent on this land.
Our entire harvest has gone with the water. We are forced to sell the little we've managed to salvage as fodder for livestock and at very low prices.
While farmers, especially along the River Nile, often rely on some flooding during the rainy season to grow crops, the flooding this year has been disastrous. Tijani Musa Ali's field of maize, groundnuts, potatoes and pulses have been destroyed.
The devastation has been almost everywhere in the country. Almost every region is afflicted. We can only pray to God. The government can't help everyone.
Sudan's Ministry of Agriculture says it has sent teams across the country to investigate the full extent of the damage of the floods on crops and farms, even as it prepares to repair flood defenses along the River Nile to ensure it doesn't burst its banks again. Economic sanctions on Sudan mean its foreign currency earnings are minimal, so buying more food to plug the gap is not an option. This week, the government declared an economic emergency following a dramatic plunge in the value of the national currency, the Sudanese pound. The Labour Minister who heads the country's disaster management committee says they have a plan.
What we're trying to do is basically see what needs to be done now and how can we approach the different, we've got basically been talking to World Bank, how can we support an assessment so that they can help rebuild, how can we try to support people to go back to their lives, and I think with I want to say that in Sudan, private sector, civil society, everybody works together.
Back at the farms, Hamid and his two sons get maize stalks ready to be sent to the market. But they say it may take some time before they can piece their lives back together. Mohamed Abdul, Al Jazeera, Khartoum.
We now look at sports news. Copper Queens duo of Helen Mubanga and Rachel Nachula get down to business at their new club CFF in Spain. The duo had their first training session with their club and made test league action on Sunday against Atletico Madrid. Helen, formerly of Red Arrows, and Rachel Nachula were part of the Zambia women national team that qualified for the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games that have been pushed to next year due to the COVID-19 crisis. Helen was the 2019 COSAFA Women Championship player of the tournament, while Rachel, better known as Victor Moses, won the Golden Boot Award. Zambia now has 5 female players playing their trade in foreign leagues, namely Barbara Banda, Misozi Zulu, and Rachel Kundananji. Helen and Rachel complete the pool with more than expected to trek to Europe as the Zambian women game undergoes a massive revolution. That sports item brings us to the end of Camnet TV World News. But before we go, a look at the headlines once again. In local news, Chishimba Kambwili tired of court appearances. Government to revoke operation licenses for uncompliant bar and nightclub owners. Fairview Hotel workers protest demand for management to go. And in international news, frustration grows over government's response towards floods in Senegal. And in sports news, Copper Queens duo get down to business at their new club in Spain. We now look at the Camnet verse of the day, which is coming from the book of Ecclesiastes 2, verse 26, and it reads, God gives wisdom, knowledge, and happiness to those who please him. But he makes the sinners work, earning and savings, so that what they get can be given to those who please him. I have been Liseli Kanyanga, your anchor. God bless.